Afternoon, everybody. We are Wednesday, January 26th, and we are in the building committee meeting, and it's approximately 12 p.m. Roll call, Ms. Lupita Cepeda,
Present.
Mercurio Martinez Jr. I believe he's not here. Jorge J.D. Delgado, present. And myself, Esteban Rangel. We have a quorum. Construction updates, item number 3, Mr. Pais and Mr. Cepeda.
Okay, good afternoon. Omar Pais for the record, project manager for Laredo College. Today we bring in an update on the Laredo College Phase 3 construction bond projects. It's an update. Today is January 26, 2022. So we have a list of projects here that we'll be going over briefly on each one. Briefly just touch on them right now. We currently have a roofing soffit exterior canopy LED project at the South Campus. We do have one building that we'll be touching here at the main campus here in Fort McIntosh, and that'll be the bookstore. Another project that we have coming up is the concrete slab for the CDL courses at the South Campus. That will be placed on one of the practice fields that we have out at the sports center. The diesel mechanic and the auto collision expansion is another project that we have on our list. And we also have the Lamar Regatta Environmental Center renovation and additions to the facility here at Fort McIntosh. As I go through my slides, I'll go ahead and let you know what I've got on my different slides and kind of elaborate a little bit on the information on the particular project that I'll be going over. This is the roofing and soffit improvement project at the South Campus. This photograph is a photo taken on the front entrance of Camino Prada Child Development Center. It's the front entrance. And you can see the improvements of the soffit, where we used to have exposed beams and we used to have vision problems. So that has all pretty much gone away. And we'll be going from building to building to do this type of finish on all of the exposed structures at the South Campus. Along with the improvements, we do have the replacement of the old light fixtures that look sort of like a barrel, about 18 inches long. We got rid of all those light fixtures and we're replacing them with updated LED fixtures, which you can see here are the recess cans that are inset into the soffit improvements. This particular photo here is the playground area on the backside of that particular same building, the Camino Prada. This photo here was taken about a week ago. As of this morning, we're probably about 90% complete with covering up this open structure. All of the electrical lines have been roughed in, And then the contractor will come back and make the cutouts for the recessed cans, and the recessed LED lights will be installed.
Mr. Price?
Yes.
We are taking into consideration all the pigeons, right?
What was the question again?
We are taking into consideration pigeons.
Oh, with the improvements?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, you definitely, yes, because this is the
Because I
reason
know
why.
this is Laredo wide problem.
Yeah,
Everywhere.
yeah.
And I'm just wondering if we're already making, if we're doing this, we're already taking into consideration the
Yeah.
pigeon problems.
Yeah, certainly. And this is the reason why we're doing the soffit improvements to the campus. So once we're actually done with these structures, the pigeons will really have no area to come in, land, and nest. That's a huge problem at the South Campus. And like you mentioned, we have it citywide. We even have a crow problem now here in Laredo,
Yeah.
which is also another.
And on areas that do have to have an opening, let's just say cornered areas or whatever, that don't have a way to cover it. Are we already installing, I guess, those little spikes or something like that?
Yeah, what we'll do is we'll go through the entire soffit improvement and look at any particular special conditions. As you mentioned, any conditions where we cannot cover a certain area because of the structural member or whatever, we'll take a look at that and possibly maybe add needles to avoid the landing. But we're trying to cover every little niche on all these structures that we have open right now.
That's good.
Yeah, for the most part, they're getting
Let's just consider that for sure, you know, on those little, like you mentioned, wherever they're connecting or there's no way to cover it, to already invest on putting those little needles that we could be able to put them and already have them installed. Thank you, sir. Yeah,
we're trying our best to cover all areas, even to avoid the needles, because with time, even the needles, the pigeons use it as a foundation.
Yes.
And one way or another, they find their ways onto those needles and build a nest. But we're trying to get everything covered up and avoid any type of a landing area.
Thank you.
This photograph here on the monitors and on your laptops is a photograph of the connection between the breezeways at different levels, which will also be improved with a soffit. And this breezeway is where we have the most traffic and where we've had the most problems with pigeons. And that's the connection between Billy Hall, the Judith Saffarini Library, and the Academic Advanced Technology Center, which is Building C. So we have a great deal of soffit work. All of the metal stud and the LED lighting fixtures have been installed already. So once we get done at Camino Prada, we'll go ahead and move the contractor into these areas to go ahead and get the soffit work completed and move on to other areas of the campus. I included some photographs of the roofing improvements. We are working on this particular project right now. We are pretty much working on all of the entire campus, except for building for Billy Hall, which has already been done on a prior contract. And of course, building H, which is the health science, which has no scope on it. So it shows you a little bit of the process. There are several phases, but we do have them going through power washing. After the power wash, they do apply a sealant to the actual existing material. They do their repairs if there's any bubbles or tears on the actual surface. And then they start the process of putting down the alpha guard, which is the photograph where the pointer's at right now. And that's almost a 3-step process before they get done with that phase. And then which then leads to this one, which is pretty much a gray surface type of finish, which is the primer and the alpha guard phase. And then they apply the white finish, which is the finished product. All of these steps get inspected, not only by me, but also by the company Tremco, which is a material supplier. And they are reports issued to my office on a weekly basis, just to assure that the scope of work and the actual application is according to specifications. So currently, the buildings that have been fully completed are buildings A, B, D, F, and G. Building C is about 90%, and building E is at about 95%. As I mentioned earlier, the bookstore will be worked on as soon as we go ahead and get the crews to go ahead and start doing repairs. They have visited the bookstore already, and they have taken a note of what needs to be done. So they're prepared to go ahead and move on to that facility as soon as we have the manpower available to relocate them here to the Fort McIntosh. So the project of the concrete slab for the CDL courses, there was a GMP formally approved by the board of $961,816.91. The final plans that were approved with the GMP have been updated by Frank Architects. Laredo Construction of Texas has reviewed the contract for signature. We're currently in that process right now. And we will be seeing site mobilization, and work on the site should commence soon. We do have laid out 120 days of construction time. And we estimate a date of May 31st of 2022 as a completion timeframe for that particular project. The diesel mechanic and auto collision expansion project. The final GMP plans have been completed by Frank Architects. Laredo Construction of Texas has had this set of plans for some time now. It is a large set of documents. So they have been going through the plans and doing their estimates and preparing the final GMP to be presented possibly as soon as February of 2022 at a board meeting. The Lamar Regatta Environmental Science Center renovation and improvements. We're currently working with the architect on the programming phase, and the development of the scope of work for that particular project. We have had site meetings, and we do have additional site meetings scheduled for updating and prioritizing the improvements for that center, so we can go ahead and get some drawings and design work started on that particular project. We do have one more project, phase 3. It is the law enforcement training center. That particular project has kind of branched out to several different facilities at both campuses. One particular building here at Fort McIntosh is the Regatta facility, and we'll be going in there with the architect, Memo Cavazos, to go ahead and work on some renovation plans for that particular building. We do have the Academic and Advanced Technology Center renovations at the South Campus, which is building C. We do have some work that we'll be doing on the second floor, some improvements, some opening of spaces, and redoing of some rooms. There is some data and some AV work that will also be done on several rooms to go ahead and prepare them for instructional for the different programs that they do have at the South Campus. The Congressman Henry Cuellar Protective Service Center will also be going through some renovations. The shooting range will be is being planned to be modified to tactical room training. So we will go ahead and do quite a bit of work in the basement of that facility to go ahead and change the operation of that basement area. And we'll be doing some renovation work on the actual ground level of some improvements of some of the rooms, some of them to make them larger because they do have quite a bit of students, and there is the need of more space. So we'll be enlarging some of the instructional rooms of that facility as well.
If I may add, Chair, I just want to let the board committee meeting know that the federal government has decided not to pursue working on a long-term or the firing range that was supposed to be set aside here at the main campus. So because we have that order, we are looking at alternative routes to do with what the intent was of the training center. So if we don't pursue the firing range, that would alleviate the $7.5 million from the main campus here. And so working with Mr. Donald Hale and the current partnerships that we have with his side of the local law enforcement, as well as the current Homeland Security, what they have brought to our table is renovating the Ruben Garcia, continuing that to where we would expand, or the intent again. Hopefully by February, we'll have more of the drawn up plan to give you all. But the Ruben Garcia will ultimately become the next Homeland Emergency Response program that we just got approved by THCB and SAC, COC. And then the AAC, because we moved electronics to the main campus, that alleviates some space in the South Campus where that section will become the next criminal justice. So they're just swapping from the Henry Guerra's Protective Center into the AAC. We're moving, in essence, the criminal justice program over here because they're running out of space. So that way the Henry Guerra can strictly become law enforcement, police academy, and local agencies to use. So that way the criminal justice, the academic transfer program is moved to the C building. So that's why he's outlining 3 possibilities. And what Mr. Hale is proposing is, instead of revamping the shooting range, is that our current shooting range becomes the next defensive tactics. And we just upkeep our outdoor firing range, and the police academy will be content with that. Again, our local academy only uses a firing range for 20 days out of the year. And so where they need more space is on the defensive tactics. So that's why you see a little bit of the change here of how we have Plan B, because we have been waiting all along from the federal government, where we had only the short-term agreement, and we were hoping we would have a long-term agreement, and that long-term agreement was supposed to lead to a letter of intent that was going to give us leverage in building that firing range. But because they recently communicated there was a change in leadership, and we got a very straight upfront response that basically that project is no longer going to happen. So I just want to.
So they already put that in writing.
Correct.
So we already have that letter.
Right. We have the email coming from the director himself. And this is what's leading to basically Plan B.
And when do you plan on bringing this item to see what we're going to do with the 7.5?
So that's a very good question. We are still discussing that. The 1, 2, and 3. Well, not the Ruben Garcia. I stand corrected. That's part of phase 2. But the C building and the revamp of the Congressman Henry Guerra's Protective Service Center, that would be phase 3. And then we're assessing different programs. This is why probably in February, we'll bring a proposal of what we intend to do with those 7.5. I can tell you one of the things in conversation is the revamping in the South Campus instructional classrooms. Those have not been revamped, so they need the infrastructure, technology, especially in the C building, in Donald's area, new furniture too. None of that has been revamped since the beginning of when that campus opened. So there needs to be some new infrastructures built in there.
So come February, you'll bring it and you'll bring a list of possibilities.
Correct.
Of
That's our
needs.
intent. Go ahead, Mr. Vela.
Good afternoon, Cesar Vela, VP of Finance for the record. Just to add up to what Dr. Tejerina mentioned, yes, we are currently working with Mr. Cavazos, who is the architect director for this project, to come up with some recommendations. One of the items that we're currently looking at, and as Mr. Pais mentioned, the project is the Lamar Regatta Center project. We currently allocated only 1.5 million to that project. However, as we have been looking at that project, we know that it requires a lot more work. So obviously, Mr. Cavazos is working on the plans and looking at the scope of work. So the possibility that that project will come back to the board with a modification, not just on the budget, but on the scope, is a possibility. We are targeting to have some information ready for the board at the February meeting. So currently, right now, we're just, again, like I mentioned, we're working with Mr. Cavazos on it. And as Dr. Tejerina mentioned, the other plan is to use part of that, those reallocated 7.5 million to address audiovisual equipment at the South Campus and upgrade some of the furniture also at the South Campus. That campus, we have not addressed the audiovisual equipment. Well, we have addressed some extent of it, but there are some of the classrooms that have not been touched that we need to look at. And that is the plan to do an assessment of the audiovisual equipment at the South Campus and furniture for the classrooms, and possibly do an upgrade for those classrooms at the South Campus.
Okay.
And if I may, Chair, another audio video revamp that's needed is in y'all's our boardroom. It was built, I guess, with the intent, we never thought COVID or teleconferencing would exist, but we do want to add more infrastructure as well. So right now we're doing that audio video analysis for both South. Even here at main campus, there might have been some older, let's say phase 1 buildings that, we're definitely, as technology, we all know, keeps changing. And so we're assessing that, hoping that in February, we'll bring you a very concrete plan as to this didn't work out, but this is what we intend to do with a $7.5 million.
Okay, thank you. Any questions? No, go ahead, Mr. Price.
Okay, so that is pretty much the presentation on the update of our different projects that we have currently going on. They're all moving forward. If y'all have any questions that I can answer at this time.
One of the questions that I did have was, I know that we're using the field to be able to host the material. Am I correct, Mr. Price? In the South Campus?
Right now, we currently do not have any mobile staging area on any sports fields. When we do get on to the CDL construction of the pad, they will actually mobilize almost across or behind the auto collision shop for the fact that project will be coming on board. And so they will have one staging area instead of being in different areas. We will be having them located in one area. So they will do and work on the CDL pad, and if at the same time, eventually the auto collision comes into phase, we will have them work out of the same staging area.
So then you
But we won't have no lay down area on any sports field at all.
Okay, thank you.
Right.
Any questions? No? Thank you, Mr. Price.
Thank you.
Mr. Orlando Cepeda.
Orlando Cepeda, for the record, Director of Plant Operations and Maintenance. I wanted to give a quick update on all the projects that we got going with the physical plant. We have a whole bunch of projects, a lot of them related to the ice storm that we had last February. in May, we got, so I'll go, I'll move on to each one of them. And then there's some proposed projects that we're also doing, or investigating. One of them has been that, we have, our HVAC central plant is kind of aging. There's a lot of equipment that we have been changing out. One of them is one of the secondary pumps that circulates water throughout the campus. So that project is complete. It's about 116,482. You can see the pictures, the old pump there and the new installation, plus one of the things that we had happen to our thermal tank is that the valves froze because I guess over the years, nobody kind of worked them. So we had to install a new set of valves. This time we put them in internally. The Cigarroa Science winter storm damage. Unfortunately, one of the air handlers in one of the HVAC rooms ruptured. As a result, we have water all over that wing of the building. It's actually the Cigarroa Science classroom building in the kind of the south wing. That cost us $194,700. That project is complete. You can see it was sad to see all of the water that came pouring down from the roof where these air handlers are, or not the roof, but the mechanical room. And so it poured all the way down the hallway, and so we took care of all of that eventually. Also, the one that we're still dealing with is the chapel winter storm damage. As when they revamped that building, they put the 2 HVAC air handlers on the rafters of the building, and as luck or bad luck will have it, during the we had the air handler core ruptured, consequently pouring water all over the beautiful floor and through all the way down to the basement. It's taken us a bit to kind of redo that repair, because what I wanted to do is remove water-based air handlers from the attic. So we're going to conventional refrigerant-based, rather than we first thought of moving all of the air handlers to the basement, but that looked like a very expensive job. So what I decided is that for the existing rafter units, we're going to go to conventional refrigerant units so that we won't have to deal with water. So we redesigned the whole HVAC system for the building, and we just got the quote recently. It's going to cost us $228,950, but we were looking at something almost 3 times that if we wanted to replicate what we had before. But it'll work adequately. I mean, well, it'll work the same it was. We're putting the same capacity air handlers to keep that building cool. One thing that's still pending that we don't want to do until we finish the actual HVAC work is the floor. And as you can see, it was really sad to see walking into that building right when all of this happened. There was about, as much as 2-3 inches of water on that floor. Those pictures, then there's water that was pouring down the walls, blistering the paint, and all kinds of mayhem went on in that building. And although the building, the floor looks shiny, that's because it's water. Once we dried everything up, the wood kind of curled up and it's in bad shape. So we're gonna have to replace that beautiful floor.
Mr. Cepeda, and on that, the floor, there was no way to save it.
No, what's happened is that some of the slats have kind of like curled up. I guess there was enough water absorbed that as much as we tried to dry, well, we dried the whole thing up. But post all of that, what happened is the floor started to kind of like, and we're gonna, once we get the other work done in the attic and all of the HVAC work, we're gonna go out for bids and see what's the best solution to replace the floor.
And are we considering going back to wood the way it was?
Well, that
Or
was,
are we gonna look at different options?
as y'all saw, that was a very nice building. I mean, a very nice presenting building, and my recommendation is we go back to wood. We're no longer gonna have any issues with water problems in the future. The attic air handlers, we're gonna go to conventional refrigerant-based air handlers.
When do you plan on bringing that to I guess, a building meeting to see what recommendations, because I know it's probably gonna be very costly, right? On the wood part.
Well, like I said, we just got the quotes on the repair. We haven't presented it to anybody. I just got the quotes in the last 2 weeks. And then we're going to come before the board, present the project to do that work. And then we'll get into the floor work, what's involved. It's not only floor work. If you look at some of the pictures of the walls there, and the one in the upper corner, you see paint blistering. That's I believe that's like Representative Richard Raymond's office. It got damaged pretty much. Ceiling tiles as well, just kind of got stained. Nothing happened to the actual chapel down at the, where all the pews are. That was okay. Everything was up top and in the basement where we got all the damage.
Okay.
Mr. Cepeda, I'm sorry. If I may,
ahead.
just briefly, costs for some of these repairs are going through the insurance. We did
okay.
submit an insurance claim for the damages to this building. So we have been working with Mr. Cano on the claim. And we are going to get a reimbursement for those costs.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know where that stands, but we're supplying the cost to fix all that.
Chair recognizes President Cepeda.
Just a question, since we had so much water damage, is it gonna be checked for mold for future reference?
Yeah, we're gonna, I believe we've done that.
Oh, okay,
And I think everything's okay.
okay, good.
Yeah, it wasn't, we immediately reacted and dried the whole place up. Like as we speak, we had our guys can move in there and vacuum all the water up and everything. So the water didn't stay. We just hit it right away until we dried everything up. And then we had fans going and everything. So I don't think we have that issue. Chiller water tank roof, that got damaged in the May windstorm. What happened is that the whole roof cladding and insulation got ripped off. So it rendered the chiller tank very inefficient and thus affecting AC, affecting us throughout the Fort Mac campus. We have completed our project. It cost us about 185, not about, is it a buy board price of 185,008, and the project is complete. I'll show you some pictures. The media, Mr. Inigas flew a drone and got us some pictures as we were repairing. This is the bare roof after they removed the cladding. And then It's, and the workers there were working for several, actually, I think about a couple of weeks. Then they started putting back the insulation and all of the cladding that is there. And then we got some pretty good, actually, we got a video too, but it's a huge file to move around. And then that's the completed job. We restored the tank back to its efficiency, and we just move on. Other projects we got going is that we're working on we have an agreement to lease building P14, the old Ford Hospital, to the Imaginarium. We have a cost of about $656,800. Imaginary contribution is $170,000. We started the plumbing and the sewer connection work. We're working on interior structural engineering and build out drawings. In fact, I just got them the last few days. We're working on contracting of subcontractors to commence the work. We're hoping that we get some help from our legal counsel on that. The timeline, the moving target is September 1st, so we got a pretty tight schedule to get this done. I happen to know that the Imaginarium is hedging their bets. They're trying to get a couple of months extension on getting out of the mall. So hope they can give us a little bit of breather that way. The other one is releasing P24 to the Department of Public Safety, DPS. We're working on finalizing the agreement, working on bidding of retrofit work. Our budget is about $220,000. Timeline's about 6 to 8 months. No moving date yet has been established. So we got most of the plans for the retrofit of that building. The only thing that was kind of holding things up was that we were trying to get more precise drawings on all the data drops they had. But we're going to proceed without, and they haven't responded. I've tried to get a hold of them about 3 or 4 times, and so, but we're going to move forward and kind of leave the data drops for hopefully future that we can kind of coordinate with them. A proposed new project that we've been working on is that the MFA HVAC system is in its last legs. Its life expectancy is pretty much at an end. So we're working on a project to completely change that, but we're looking at options that perhaps we can the whole corner where the MFA is and the LEAC and the visual performing arts, all those buildings comprise almost 30% of the square footage of this campus. And it may warrant, or there may be some feasibility to perhaps put in a second thermal tank and connect all the buildings up. The third thermal tank that we all just saw has helped us tremendously in saving energy. The way we schedule the generation of chiller water is that we do it at night when the rates are low, and then during the day we just circulate water without turning in the chillers and the chiller plant. So we think that there's a possibility of good economics. So what we've done is that one of the base project is replace the HVAC, all equipment and the MFA. And that's our budget, about 1.7 and 52 million. Installing a second thermal tank, it could be costly, 4.9 to 6 million, but if the economics prove out, it may be worth our while to seriously consider it. Then we could set up for future thermal tank where we would connect all the buildings, but expand a chiller plant, but not put a thermal tank. we have given Train a PO to do a feasibility economic study, costing 38,487. The study results presentation is scheduled for February 17th, this next coming month. So we'll see what they've been working on rates and working on the efficiency of the plant and how we operate and all of that. So I have a good feeling that this could be something good for the college. It's saving more energy. With the thermal tank, I think we dropped the electricity yearly cost from like 2.4 down to like 1.6 million a year. And so that system has paid for itself many times over. This is the concept where you can see a picture of the three buildings. Where down in the middle there, that's where we have the HVAC system that was built in 2013 for the visual performing arts and the LEAC building. The idea is to expand that system and put a thermal tank in a parking lot there, and then connect the three buildings. Instead of replacing, just flat out replacing the MFA building, we would use whatever monies we would spend there. We got to do that. Either way, we need to completely replace it. It's got old controls. We have to run back and forth to manually turn the thing on. So, but that's the concept, is the buildings are in that same vicinity. So connecting the chiller lines would be probably very, we've looked at expanding maybe the chiller lines out there from the thermal tank, but the whole system has telescopic chiller lines. So we're looking out here, we got like 6-inch chiller lines when we start like with 10-inch, 6-inch. So it won't work to try to pump water all the way to those three buildings. So the idea is maybe connecting them all with a second chiller tank. As you all know, anybody that has significant amount of square footage, they use thermal tanks. You got Costco, you got, Kroger, all those big stores. They always have, because that's a prudent way to air condition the system with chiller water, and then do the night day kind of running of the system. So that's the project that hopefully the numbers come out and we can come and present something, one of the options anyway. The other thing, as a result of a pretty hot summer, and after we put we finished the Figueroa Science Building, what that project did is connected the Figueroa Science Labs and the Figueroa Science Buildings with kind of a hallway, and we were having consistent problems in one end of the old classroom building. At the height of all the summer, we had constant complaints with the staff that it was too hot. So what we started to investigate, we did a flow study on the chiller line going into those buildings, and we found out that old building has a 4-inch chiller line. I personally would have never put a 4-inch chiller line. The cost between 4-inch and 6-inch is negligible. So, but what happens to 4-inch, they immediately, a lot of stuff forms in the walls of the pipe, and you start getting the pipe reduces, and the flow is severely affected. So what we come up with as a result of the flow study is that there's an inadequate chiller water going into the air handler, handling that end of the building. So we have a proposal to upsize that line from 4-inch to 6-inch. And we just got that proposal here the last few days. It's insulated pipe connecting to the lateral that comes into this library. And, you know, we don't have any problem with the actual pumping and setting up a higher rate, but we do have a problem with the restriction of the flow going into that wing, and we're gonna be having recurring issues with the building not being able to be cooled properly. So I think that this is one of these projects that we're probably gonna have to do. So this is, we're just getting all of the numbers and all of, you know, the reasons why we think that this is a viable project or something we probably need to do. Another project that we have been looking at is the parking lots, paving both parking lots in both campuses. Both campuses asphalt lots are in need of repair, restoration, resurfacing, restriping, and curb repairs. We actually did go out for bids on the work. We, out of 6 bidders that we considered, we settled on soliciting bids from 4. And problem was that we got one bid from one of them, and it was incomplete. And my theory as to lack of bids is that there's a lot of paving work going on in the city. These guys want roads, you know, where they just set their equipment and just go straight. Parking lots are more complicated, you know, they're smaller. You get all the, you know, pothole repairs, restriping, all of that stuff. So what we're doing is that we're gonna reconsider the scope of work and split the parking lot. Let's do one parking lot, probably this campus first and the second one. Besides, there's still a lot of work going on the South Campus with the trucking pad and staging, a lot of stuff that's going on in that. So we're gonna give it another shot. Hopefully we can find somebody and maybe fix what may be wrong with the scope of work and go from there.
So then out of the,
Pardon?
I'm sorry, Mr. Zepeda. So then we only had one bid that bid.
One bid, and it was incomplete. It wasn't up to our standards. So we're gonna kind of rework maybe the bond or rework you know, we're gonna ask what do you guys need to get this thing to go? So we haven't given up. We're going to try it again. I mean, we have to. So, the other one is we got to rebuild one of the South Tower, the LC South HVAC system, tower number 2. It's working, but it's in its last legs. So we just got a quote to get that done. It involves a complete rebuild of the water cooling tower, replacing structural supports, components, braces, drive assemblies, motor bearings, fan assemblies, pulleys, fan belts, and all that stuff. So we're looking at a cost of $47,282. As you can see, it's not in good condition. It's pretty, you know, Laredo has the weather that this stuff takes quite a beating, and we constantly, it looks like our biggest complaints as far as things not working is usually the HVAC system here in the summer, because we have like 10 months of summer here. So this is a project that we're right now working on. So that's all I have for now.
Any questions?
There's several other projects that we're waiting to get a architect of record on board that we're going to look at. And one of them is we got the engineering company, the South library, the east wall has been kind of like separating. And so we're gonna get a structural company, and I already have a quote to look at that, but we want to kind of get an architect involved. And the other one is we need to redesign the back fence of the baseball field in the south. It got knocked over by the wind, and that fence had been done by a fencing contractor where, they dug a 2-foot hole and went all the way around, and since it's got canvas and all that, it just gets blown out. Well, what I want to do is get a concrete footing all the way around that withstands wind better than just a post hole, 10 feet apart, so. But that again is a project I want to engage in with an architect of record, so. That's all I have. Any questions?
Here you go. Ms. Beth? No questions. I guess that's it. It is 12:51. Motion to adjourn.
So move.
There's a motion, second, in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Thank you all for coming.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everyone.